For me, I always like to draw her with a playfulness. She's enthusiastic and kind of geeky about racing. So I would always draw her with this kind of intense smile. Like, yeah.
She's a she, and I just didn't want to have sexy, curvy, feminine, girly, whatever it is. I wanted a strong, tough, independent car.
Cruz is the queen of motivation. You still need my help, Mr. McQueen. You're brittle, like a fossil. But what I like about Cruz is that she doesn't give up.
I'm really proud of her. Does that sound weird? I think of her as like my daughter or as myself or lots of women that I know. And I'm proud of her, and I'm proud that we got to tell that story.
You know, I never really thought of it as, oh, well, she's a female asterisk character. I always thought, well, she's a character that's very interesting. What are things that I can bring out personally that will make her feel like a real well-rounded character?
We knew that we always wanted a character who was kind of a flip side of the coin to Lightning McQueen. But in very early versions of the movie, when we didn't have the tone of things correct, we didn't really know who Cruz should be yet.
My name is Cruz Ramirez, and I'll be your executive assistant for simulated racing and high-tech design analysis.
They made her kind of a computer whiz at first, and I didn't like that.
Welcome to the XE28 Racing Simulator. Tap the G6-8 button, that locks you in.
It didn't feel like it would make a lot of sense for her character to end up wanting to become a racer if she wasn't really into racing, if she was more into the whole high-tech computer stuff.
All we need to do is reboot the system and everything will be fine.
It was partly figuring out that she was going to be his trainer.
Cruz Ramirez, the best trainer in the business.
Ready to meet it, greet it,
And defeat it!
all right!
Usually all our side characters grow out of our main characters. So the first question is, what does Lightning McQueen need? He needed someone who would help him grow to learn that it's okay to move on to the next stage in life. And so I thought, well, maybe she plays off of McQueen's worst fears about being old.
These young guys are great and all, but I like a challenge. I call you my senior project.
But then also, every character has something underneath, some sort of mysterious struggle that makes them interesting and makes them not just a type. There's this kind of automatic thing to make every girl character, especially in animation, be the tough girl or the kick-ass girl. That was a really interesting journey on this movie, was to think, like, why can we not tell a different girl story?
I think there's a lot of pressure to make female characters very perfect and flawless, and I really wanted her to be flawed. I really wanted Cruz to have problems that she had to overcome.
They say write what you know, and I don't want to sit around and create a character when I'm just guessing. So, you know, we sat down and spent a lot of time talking with women around Pixar who are the best at what they do, but they had to come through, you know, male-dominated industry in ways that I wouldn't know anything about.
I didn't know there were female racers back then.
We had a story artist on the show named Louise Smythe. She told her story about coming to Pixar and feeling exactly like Cruz.
You know, you show up at Pixar for work on your first day and all these people are amazing artists. And I just started to feel like I wasn't good enough to really fit into the studio. And so I started to really be down on myself. It took a while, but getting used to just that's how everyone feels. And working on my skills helped me kind of come out of that funk that I was in.
Some women had called out a specific line that was in the reels.
What was it like for you when you showed up to your first race? How did you know you could do it?
And he said,
I don't know, I just never thought I couldn't.
basically that he had just never doubted himself, that had never come into his mind, and that lots of women and people had felt that feeling, like they had so much self-doubt and they wished that they knew what it felt like not to have self-doubt.
We decided to start working with the idea that Cruz's issue is her confidence.
Not a racer, just a trainer.
Go ahead and gun it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was about creating a backstory that made sense. And Cristella's actual backstory was interesting to hear about.
Cristela Alonso plays the voice of Cruz Ramirez.
But Mr. Sterling sent me to work with you, so I'm gonna shadow you while Simon calls out your speed.
I think the moment Cristela became the voice of Cruz, she really came to life.
Now you stink, Mr. McQueen. What? Use that and stretch it out. Reach for your lunch. Reach for your lunch.
When you have a personality that is that big in real life, it's silly to just not grab onto it and just try and put that into the character.
Note to self, more of that.
A lot of what ended up in Cruz's character was inspired by Cristela and her own personal stories.
The only thing I ever really wanted was to be a racer. I grew up in a border town in South Texas, and I was in love with stand-up my entire life, and everyone around me would say, oh, that's such a silly dream. For a while, I kind of listened to them, and then one day, I got a job at the comedy club because I thought, if I can't be a comic, I want to make the comics look good. I was the office manager, and when I started doing stand-up, people didn't take me serious because they saw me as an office manager. I tried for years to become a racer. It was the one thing I wanted more than anything. It was my one shot, and I didn't take it.
I think this scene is very powerful because she's finally speaking her truth, and is a moment where you see the real Cruz, the Cruz that she doesn't show the world. That was probably key in terms of Cruz's dream, was just going into the acting room, closing the door, and just being quiet for a while, and just playing the dialogue.
What was it like for you?
And putting yourself in that situation.
I wish I knew what that felt like. I wish I knew what that felt like.
The beauty of that sequence is that anyone can relate to feeling like you don't belong, to feeling like you're out of place.
You know, we try to put the movie on the screen. In some ways, it's a reflection of the world we have and the world we want to change. But it's also, from another point of view, it has to be the world we want it to be. I want my daughters to come out of that just thinking, I can do anything I want.
She ends up being a kick-ass character. And just acknowledging that confidence is a thing that lots of people struggle with is valuable, especially if that character then can sort of take the next step and push past it.
For me, when I see Cruz, this little spunky car that you think has it together, along the story you find out that she doesn't, and that she really craves that shot. And you start rooting for her because you know that we all have dreams. And she is the symbol of someone that wants to chase after them and accomplish it. That's what you want. That's why you root for her, and that's what I love about her.
Hey, Olivia here from Disney Channel's Bizaardvark. I'm here at Hendrick Motorsports, the training facility for some of the best racers in the world. In the world of auto racing, winners and losers are often separated by just a few seconds, and all racers spend a lot of time training to get the best times. The filmmakers at Pixar want everything they do to feel and look realistic, and for Cars 3, they came here to make the story of Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez as realistic as possible by seeing the way actual racers train. This is William Byron. He's been racing for 4 years and he's only 19.
I'm William, nice to meet you.
Great entrance. He has raced trucks and now races cars. And he got his start playing racing video games. He's like a real-life next-gen from Cars 3.
Wow, I have so many questions for you. So when did you know that you wanted to be a race car driver?
I knew when I was 7 years old. Pretty early on, I had been to races and I was really interested in it. It's kind of an early passion for me.
So what separates like an average person from a race car driver?
I'd say the biggest thing is just the race car drivers have that need for speed, and we really want to go fast all the time and try and get the most speed out of the car, so it's really fun.
You guys train a lot, so what is like an average training day?
We train the race shop and go to the simulator sometimes, but as far as athletic training, we go to the gym to get us ready for the race and kind of relax our mind. Training's important because the race car is usually 120 degrees inside there, so it's really hot, and especially during the summertime, I think we have a stretch where we don't have a weekend off, so you have to make sure your body is still resting and you're able to get back in the racing swing of things the next weekend.
What separates an average car, like my mom's car, from a car like this?
You know, really just the engine and the chassis and the way that the body on a race car is kind of made to go through the wind really fast. It's a little bit different than a street car, but a street car can still be fast too.
Can you describe the simulator that we're driving to?
The simulator is just kind of a way for us to get acclimated to the racetracks we go to. It helps us train for the weekend. So if we're going to Las Vegas or we're going to California, we can get a real life experience of what the G-forces are going to be like on our bodies and how the car feels. It's on a motion platform, so the simulator takes into account all these different equations to make it move coordinated with how it would on the racetrack. The wheel moves just like the real wheel would. It's really cool to have a tool like that and have something to go practice on. I think you'll really enjoy it. And then, yeah, that's good.
How different is this from a real race car?
The fear factor in real life is a lot more, but you know, when you're in here, you start to really get immersed in what you're doing, so it becomes really realistic for us.
I've literally never even driven a car. I don't even know which one is go and which one is stop.
Yeah, so the one on the right's the gas.
Okay.
And then easy on the gas. There you go. And just keep the wheel nice and smooth. There you go. And then put in third.
Which one's that?
It's like straight and to the right.
Ah!
Oh, there you go. Now you're in third gear. You know, just kind of work the throttle, and once you get more comfortable, just keep going straight here. And if you go on the straightaways, if you stay closer to the wall, you'll have a better angle into the corner. Awesome.
Oh gosh, this is so fun.
Oh, speeding it up.
Getting bumpy here.
Breathe. Let it breathe.
Oh! No! Wait! Oh man! That was so intense. That is so much better than any video game I've ever played. It was so fun.
Well, you're going 135.
Whoa! 135? That's insane! Cool.
I think you got that need for speed now.
Yeah. I actually haven't even got my learner's permit yet, so that was pretty great practice.
I think of racing a car as kind of like dancing because you're always trying to anticipate each move.
So how is Cars, the movie, different from the real world of racing?
There's a lot of funny similarities in the movies. Seeing how they do the pit stops is pretty similar. And Luigi coming over and changing the tires really fast. So that's a really important part of racing. Yeah, so this is the pit crews. That's where they train.
Oh, wow. So how fast are pit stops?
In the last couple years with the new improvements in the pit guns and everything, they go faster and they're usually like 11 seconds.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you think if I trained hard enough, I could be a race car driver?
I think a couple practice lessons on the simulator.
What's the fastest that you've ever gone?
200 miles per hour.
Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
Maybe one time.
What do you do if nature calls during a race?
Well, that's a little interesting.